ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀਓ। ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀਓ। ਰਾਮ ਸਿਮਰ ਰਾਮ ਸਿਮਰ ਰਾਮ ਸਿਮਰ ਭਾਈ। ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਬਿਨ ਬੂਢਤੇ ਅਧਿਕਾਈ ਰਹਾਉ। ਬਨਿਤਾ ਸੁਤ ਦੇਹ ਗ੍ਰਹਿ ਸੰਪਤ ਸੁਖਦਾਈ। ਇਨ ਮੈਂ ਕਛ ਨਾਹੀ ਤੇਰੋ ਕਾਲ ਅਵਦ ਆਈ। ਅਜਾਮਲ ਗਜ ਗਨਕਾ ਪਤਿਤ ਕਰਮ ਕੀਨੇ। ਤੇਉ ਉਤਰ ਪਾਰ ਪਰੇ ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਲੀਨੇ। ਸੁਕਰ ਕੂਕਰ ਜੋਨ ਭ੍ਰਮੈ ਤਉ ਲਾਜ ਨ ਆਈ। ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਛਾੜ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਕਾਹੇ ਬਿਖ ਖਾਈ। ਤਜ ਭਰਮ ਕਰਮ ਬਿਦਨ ਖੇਦ ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਲੇਹੀ। ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਨ ਕਬੀਰ ਰਾਮ ਕਰ ਸਨੇਹੀ। ਤਜ ਪਰਮ ਕਰਮ ਬਿਦਨ ਖੇਦ ਰਾਮ ਨਾਮ ਲੇਹੀ। ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਨ ਕਬੀਰ ਰਾਮ ਕਰ ਸਨੇਹੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, today's ਪਾਵਨ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਹੁਕਮਨਾਮਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ from Sachkhand Sri Harmandir Sahib is on Ang 692, blessed to us by Bhagat Kabir Ji. And in this Hukamnama, in this Shabad, Bhagat Kabir Ji is awakening us and saying to us, Ram Simar. Ram is another way to refer to Vaheguru, to God. That Ram that is Ramya hoya, that one that is absorbed in everything, that one that is everywhere, the one that is omnipresent, permeating within all the creation. That Ram, Bhagat Kabir Ji saying, remember that one. Ram Simar, Ram Simar, Ram Simar. They say it 3 times over, Bhai, calling out to us. And Sangat Ji, 3 times over, meaning saying to us that with your man karke. They're saying within your mind. Within our mind are our thoughts based on our memory. Based on all of that information that is collected through our 5 senses. All of that is sitting inside of us. Through that, via that, whatever has gone in through these senses, we create thoughts. Bhagat Kabir Ji saying, Ram Simar, within your mind, within your thoughts, always keep that Vaheguru Ji within your memory, always remember that one. And then Bhagat Kabir Ji saying that Ram Simar, even within your speech, when you speak, when you talk, remember that one. Ram Simar. And then Bhagat Kabir Ji saying, the 3rd time, saying within each and every action, remember that one. Because Sangat Ji, even having a thought is an action. So it's not that the action, the 3rd part is different, because when we say within Gurbani, Man, Bach, Karam, Prab, Ek, Teae, that focus on that one with all 3, with your man, with your mind, Bach with your words, Karam with your actions. And often we think that a physical action is only an action. Something that we do with our hands and feet, only that is an action. The truth is here, Bhagat Kabir Ji saying, in every way, In every possible way, keep that one within your remembrance. Soon as we have, and how do we do that? The moment we have a thought, and Sangat being conscious and being aware of even a thought that occurs. And then remember, a thought can only occur from whatever is sat within our memory, not outside of that. So if any thought that has occurred down from our memory, whatever's sitting inside of there, but being conscious. Sangat ji, Punjabi च कहंदे हुंदे आ ना, कल किसे नाल गल हो रही सीगी तो पैसिਆਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੁਝ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਇਸ ਕੰਮ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਕੁ ਪੈਸੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ। ਪਰ ਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਗੱਲ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੁੱਕੀ, ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੱਧ ਪੈਸੇ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਜੇ ਵੱਧ ਪੈਸੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਅੰਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਗੱਲ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਇਹ ਨਿਕਲਿਆ ਕਿ ਪਰ ਮੇਰਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਤਾਂ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਆ ਨਾ, ਮੇਰਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੀਉਣ ਦਊਗਾ। Sangat ji, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and we was talking about charging somebody, doing some work for somebody and charging them. And sometimes this conversation comes up about overcharging somebody. And what came out of that conversation was that if I overcharge this person, that my own self is going to know from inside, I'm not going to feel good about it. I'm not going to feel right about it. And what is that inside of us that doesn't feel right about it? There's this higher consciousness within all of us. Sangat ji, that what we refer to as Vaheguru Paramatma. That Paramatma is listening to everything, is watching everything. Pekat sunat sada hai sange, main murkh janya duri re. That pekat, that is watching everything. Sunat, that is listening to everything. Ha sange is listening to every thought that we have. So if we do have a thought, Sangat ji, remembering Vaheguru Ji is reaching that place, getting to that avastha. Because Sangat ji, there's times that we could create our own ethics. But those ethics that are created with our own intellectual mind, today could be something, tomorrow could be something else. But when we actually reach that place of simar, of remembrance, it's such a high avastha, it's a high state of being. Sangat ji, I shouldn't even word it as high, because sometimes it throws us off thinking that's not somewhere I can get. I was speaking to somebody a couple of days ago and they said, well, that's Brahmgyani talk. That's talking about that level of self-realization. And sometimes we put it so far away. But when we say things like that, but my own consciousness is going to know if I overcharge, if I do this, if I do that. Sangat ji, that is that Paramatma, that Vaheguru Ji sitting inside of us, that is watching, that is listening. And when we become aware of that what is watching and that what is listening, that is then Sangat ji called Simara, is called being in remembrance. When we've actually remembered our true self and we become so aware, and that thought comes and we're able to see that thought clearly. And we can actually see from the eyes of Paramatma, of the eyes of Vaheguru, from the eyes of the Jyot, of the light inside of us. And then if that thought that has arrived isn't going to be righteous, then because that consciousness is watching it, we're able to just let go of it, because we're in remembrance from our mind. Ram Simara. And then Ram Simara. And Sangat ji, as soon as we become conscious of our mind, and then we become conscious of our words that we speak, oftentimes Sangat ji, we can say that I believe in God, but I say this all the time. I was speaking to somebody about this. We can say again and again that I believe in God, Sangat ji, but it's not about believing. It's about when we become conscious, and then when we fall into the remembrance of that one, and then when we're in the remembrance of that one with our mind, then even what comes upon our tongue, the way we speak to somebody, we'll have the remembrance of God, because we'll be watching what we are saying from that place of Vaheguru Ji. Because Sangat ji, when we get stuck in our little mind, what will happen? Pachi saying that Mado hum aise tu aisa, that I'm like this but you are like that. What are you like? Hum papi, if I act under my ego, hum papi, then I'll end up sinning. Tum paap khandan, but you are the destroyer of sin. But Sangat Ji, the part I want to concentrate on is Niko Thakur Desa, the place that you live in is beautiful. When I'm acting out of that pure consciousness that I'm actually in that beautiful place, Sangat Ji, then I'm actually looking at each word that I speak will be spoken with humility and will be spoken with sweetness, not putting somebody down, not laughing at somebody, not constantly judging them and speaking of them in a way where we want to bring them down. Nahi pyareo, aapa ta dusre nu chakkana aya. We're here to lift others. We're here to embrace others. Ram simar, Ram simar, Ram simar, Ram simar. Sangat Ji, the third one is then each action, then from those words, in the way even this hand then touches something, picks something up, it will be within the remembrance of that one, because then within that pure consciousness they'll be watching what this hand is touching, and it'll only be able to do that is righteous. Now it doesn't look at somebody else with a lustful eye. These hands don't go upon the body of another with the thoughts of lust. Now they go to give somebody that comfort from that place of compassion. Bhai na Ram Naam Simran bin Budte. Bhagat Kabir Ji saying that those that haven't actually meditated and become God conscious, they said then Ram Naam Simran bin, without that remembrance of that one, bin Budte, without that, people are drowning. Bhagat Kabir Ji saying Adkai, so many of them are. How? Bhagat Kabir Ji saying contemplate this. Think about that. Those that don't speak in consciousness, within awareness, are not watching what they are saying and the way they are responding. We just react in anger. We react with such words that bring pain and hurt other people. We sometimes use such words for ourselves. We really speak down and low of ourselves at times. Sangat Ji, so when we actually become conscious, then we won't have to drown in that way. Banita Sut, then Bhagat Kabir Ji saying Banita, your partners, Sut, your children, Deh, your own body, Greh, your houses, your homes, Sampat, all your possessions, Sukhdai, all those things that we think that bring sukh for us, that bring happiness for us, something that gives happiness. All these things, these different forms of pleasure, that we have this expectation of them bringing happiness for us. But Bhagat Kabir Ji saying, in main kach na hai tero, the truth is none of these are actually, we cannot say they are ours. In which way? Because the truth is, they say Kal Abad Ai, this is when that time of death comes. Kal means death, Abad, time means time. When that sama comes of death, we'll understand and realize all of these people that I held back for, all of these people that I lied and cheated for all of these people that I got so stuck and entangled in attachment for. Only realizing upon the time of death that nobody can actually assist me and go with me. And then Bhagat Kabir Ji saying that, but there is one thing that will always go with us, and they're saying that is Ajamal, just like it did for those who Ajamal Sangat Ji was somebody that is often described as Atda Papi, somebody that was a great sinner, somebody that had actually left his wife, who went off with a prostitute, who lived his life just filled with trying to constantly live a life filled with pleasure and trying to get happiness out of that. But in the end, even he surrendered because he found that he needed to connect to Vaheguru. And then Gaj was an elephant. That Sangaji, where a crocodile took hold of that elephant's leg. And because of past karma, that crocodile was trying to pull that elephant down, and when that time of death was at the doorstep of that elephant now surrendered and cried out to God. That Ajamal, he cried out to God at the end time, when his time was coming to an end, when he knew that now this is it, death is coming, death has come at my doorstep, and I've lived my life with sins, and I thought all these things that have deceived me, I thought were going to bring me happiness, but instead I've gotten so caught up in these pleasures and in this momentarily little happiness, but now I'm still crying, I'm still empty from inside, I'm in pain. So out of that pain, now Ganika Sangatji, the prostitute, who lived a life with selling a body, but then a great saint came over and gave her a parrot and said, teach this parrot how to say Ram. And as she then connected to the name of God, as Ajamal at the end time cried out to God, as this Gaja, as this elephant cried out to God, they had committed so many sins. And then Paatji Uttar Par Pare, but still, Teu means but still, Uttar Par Pare, they still got across, and they still were able to escape out of their attachments, out of everything that they were stuck in. Teu Uttar Par Pare, they still got across Ram Naam Line by meditating on the name of God. But meditating on the name of God means to awaken our mind, that we become conscious in every action, in every aspect of our life, from each word that we're about to speak, from each thing we're about to touch, from each place that we place this foot. We do everything now consciously because we're in the remembrance of that one. When we actually, being in the remembrances, we're able to see and watch everything. And then Paatji kehne sukar kukar jone parme tau laaj na aayi. And then they're saying, but there's many of us that still have been through life forms as sukar, as pigs, kukar, dogs, jon parme, we've gone around and around in these different life forms, dunya, kehne tau laaj na aayi, but still you feel no shame, meaning that even though we're carrying that life form with us, even though we don't remember it consciously, but it doesn't mean we haven't gone through those life forms, and it doesn't mean that we haven't learned certain things whilst we were in those life forms that we are still carrying today in our memory. Our memory is beyond this physical body that we are actually carrying from many life forms. But Bhagat Kabir Ji is saying, still no shame, and you still haven't learned from those life forms, and you still go about living your life in greed. Like a sukari, living your life just attached, so attached and engrossed only in your family, and not looking at life holistically, and actually you're willing to do, even cheat and do whatever you need to do just for them. And then Paach kehne sukar kukar jon parme tau laaj na aayi, kehne still you didn't awaken. Kehne Ram Naam chhade Amrit, kehne you let go of that Amrit, that sweet nectar, the name of God. Kehne kahe bik khai, and why are you eating, consuming poison? Consuming poison, not being conscious of when you're speaking bitterly and hurting somebody else's heart. That is eating poison. Every time we sit together, somebody's at work, you sit with your colleagues and you start talking about another colleague and you start to slander them, start to bring them down. That's consuming poison. Bik kahe bik khai taj param karam. But Bhagat Kabir Ji saying, look for, say, let go of those little params that you get caught up in, those superstitions that you get caught up in. That's not going to help you in this life. What type of actions? A bid and a khed. The bid and a khed, Sayyidji, means when the little do's and don'ts, you're thinking, oh, can I do this? Can I not do that? The little things sometimes. Sangatji, I was thinking this morning, I've seen people that if the kanga is separated from their body, the wooden comb that we keep as Gursikhs, if we are initiated and we keep a wooden comb in our case, there's times if that is separated from our body, people go into such a panic. And I'm not saying that isn't something that we should be aware of, and we should be just, we should just let our kanga be separated from our body. That's not what I'm saying. So don't get caught up in thinking like that. But what I am saying is, sometimes, many of times, see people that are so like, oh my God, was I supposed to do this? Was I not supposed to do that? I think I accidentally put my kanga here. Was I not supposed to do that? And we get so sometimes caught up within that we actually forget about living God consciously, meaning not to say not to have your kanga with you at all times, because yes, that is a part of the Rat Maryada, but as the Rat Namme. But Sangat Ji, sometimes we speak so bitterly and with words filled with so much anger, and we don't blink an eye towards that. Not once did we say, should I have done that? Should I not have done that? Not once do we say, oh, wow, you know, I was listening to myself speaking and I know that's so destructive to myself and others too. So, but I find many of times that the focus isn't upon those things, and sometimes we get caught up in the other little do's and don'ts. Sometimes we eat something, there's a certain ingredient in a certain food, and we panic so much. But it doesn't matter the way we've treated someone, there's no panic then. It doesn't matter what words we've used with somebody, there's no panic then. Oh my God, I have to get to the Panch Pyare. We start freaking out. I think there was a little something in that what I ate. I'm not saying not to be, of course we should be careful. We should be eating consciously. But I'm just trying to bring to the attention that how sometimes we put that being so big, and when it comes to the way we treat others is not even a thought. That's why Bhagat Kabir Ji saying here, can they look? So these are things obviously not, these aren't superstitions, the examples I've used. These examples are things that yes, we've got to live by, but I'm just from my observations with my own self and others sometimes just sharing with you, that's something that may be able to help you. Pachaji then, they finish off on the last pankti saying, Gur Prasad Jan Kabir. They saying, but this humble servant, Bhagat Kabir Ji saying, can they with the grace of the Guru Ram Kar Sanehi, but the whole game is to fall in love with that one. When we have love inside of our heart, it will be spread equally amongst every direction. So Sangat Ji, please forgive me for all the mistakes I have made. And the strong takeaway for me from this, when I contemplated this, upon first waking up in the morning, for me, Sangat Ji, for me it was that how consciously am I living, and for me to bring into my awareness every word that I speak, to watch that is being in remembrance of Vaheguru Ji, in the way I do everything, every thought that comes into my mind, and to be able to watch it, and then if it's not within the remembrance of Vaheguru, is to just let it go and speak each word consciously, and take each step with these feet consciously, and use these hands consciously, these eyes, these ears. Vaheguru